Hello peeps, it's the Hillbilly Halfwit. Gazza Vents again. Gotta say, you know sometimes when you have to bite your tongue and you just have to go through the process even though you know you're doing the right thing. Well, that's what I've just had to do. I have to do this every year since COVID, and what it is, it's about buying a bottle of this stuff here, okay? So that's basically what this used to be. And it's called Spectrum Scourholt. Now, if you're not a farmer, what this really is, you give this a pump into the lamb. Now, it's treated like a Class A drug at the moment for us farmers, for the only reason is that during COVID, they couldn't produce enough of it and they got low supplies of it now. So when you go to your local vets to get some of this, they treat you like a drug dealer. And you have to go through all this performance. I have it every time I go there. And the only reason I have it is because I'm a small farmer. Now, this is what gets my goat. If I was a big farmer with 1,000 sheep, they'll fucking chuck this stuff at you. That's what it's like. You're treated differently because you've got a small holding. It's always the same. Now, let me just say about this stuff. It's an antibiotic, okay? Now, when I was younger, we had about 600 sheep then. We had a lot of sheep about the place. And we were lambing all outside. And it's okay when the weather's okay, but you get wet weather and dirty weather, they get a thing called watery mouth, and it's a thing that travels up through their navel, and they're dead. Basically, they're fucked. They are fucked, then. They're dead once they get that. You can fix it sometimes, but not a lot. But this stuff came out. Now, when I was in my teens, this stuff came out called Spectrum Scourholt, and it was a game changer. Absolute game changer. And you could buy this, you could buy 10 bottles of this stuff like nothing. And it costs about 60 quid a bottle, and it'll do about 100 lambs, if I remember correctly. But when we were lambing then in the wet weather, all the farms in my area used to give them a pump of this stuff on the top, look, into their mouth. And it was just enough to save them through the night and through that wet to stop the stuff go through the navel. Of course, you'd put stuff on their navel. This was what I've always used. Lots of people use different stuff, but this is what I've used. I've never have no problems. I've always used this. Never have no problem with it. And when you go to the vets now, since COVID, because they got low stocks of it, they try to put you off from buying it as a small farmer. And you go on, you have to see the vet. I do anyway. I have to see the vet. I got really good. I get on with my vets really well. But every time I go to buy a bottle of this, they speak to you like a child, and it gets on my goat. I got no problem with them whatsoever, of nothing else, just this. Now, this stuff goes out of date in 12 months, see? And we used to give it a pump to every lamb until COVID, and you could get it easily. And it's a lifesaver. So a lamb could be from 60 quid to £100, and this one bottle of 60 quid will save one lamb. It's saved, that's the price of one bottle. But it's fantastic stuff. When you go there now, because there's low stocks of it, like I told you, they try just to give it to the larger farmers or the favourites. So I have this big spiel all the time. Oh, do you know this? Do you know how to lamb? Do you know this? I have to say, I've been lambing, I'm working with sheep for 52 years. And I think I know how to lamb a lamb by now. The deaths we have on this farm from lambs are less than 4 or 5 per year. It's minuscule. We're nothing. Sometimes we can go in lambing time and have literally like 2. That's what it's like. I like to look after my sheep. People know what I'm like. And if you have a lamb that looks like, what you basically got to do, since lambing indoors now, I've got my sheep under cover, but it's actually worse for them getting bugs. So you've got to be very, very careful of keeping it all clean with straw and putting lime underneath the lambs. And we've just had one young lamb yesterday, and they're not supposed to be coming for a month really. So she's been on the quiet, you know. Anyway, So when you're in the building, it's opposite to what you think. You've got to keep everything religiously clean. Every time you put yow in the pen, you've got to put fresh bedding down, and we put a little bit of lime on there. I do everything. I don't want no lambs to die. That's the worst possible thing for me. I want to keep them all alive. And I like to have, well, we'll use this bottle. I like to have this stuff in reserve. If something looks like it's starting to go, and they call it watery mouth because they start to have a little bit of something down the side of their mouth here, this stuff will stop it. This is like a wonder drug for farmers years ago for lambs. And that's all I use. I don't use hardly anything else on the farm for sheep. But I'd like to try to have this bottle this stuff on the side just in case, because it's such a wonder drug for lambs. Now, when I go to buy this stuff, like I told you before, I've treated like an absolute fucking child. And in the end, I had to say, look, is this against the law to buy this? And they say, no. Can I buy a bottle of that? Yes. And in the end, I have this spiel then, and then I go, do you think I'm going to go out to the bottom of my lane and dispense it like a drug dealer to people as they can buy on bikes? You have to make it, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you know, when you go somewhere and you know you're going to have hassle just about getting one thing. I think they're fantastic. My vets are fantastic. I got a lot of time for them. And they've been really good to me. But this one thing, every time I go there with this one bottle of stuff, I get treated like a fucking 5-year-old. And it pisses me off. It really fucking pisses me off. And I had to vent about that because this has happened since COVID now. And it's nothing more than they got short supply of it. And like I tell you, if you're the right farmer, you're the right size farmer, they'll fucking chuck it at you. And until before COVID, you could buy it. Oh, no problem at all. No problem. It was nothing. It's really nothing to do with the antibiotic bollocks. It's nothing to do with that. The factory that made it was not making such large quantities of it. That's what it all is in reality. But everybody's afraid to say it because they just want to lecture you. These days, everybody that goes to university wants to lecture somebody as if you know fuck all. Like I said, I've been lambing with sheep for 52 fucking years. I do know a bit of stuff. And I do know what works and what doesn't work. And where I live around here, there's certain times of year it's just so wet and shit outside, you have to have them inside, and you've got to be careful with these things. Now, last couple of years, vets don't say this. In my area around here, there's been a lot of problems, especially last year when that wet year was, of lambs dying with watery mouth. Huge amounts of lambs. Now, they won't say that, but that's what happened. In my area around here, lots of lambs are dying of watery mouth, and lots of the younger generation of farmers don't realise how much of a game changer this was. This was a fucking game changer. This brought... Lambing times years ago, you could have 40% of your lambs fucking dying until this stuff came out. That's how bad it was, because most people lambed outside then, and if the weather was bad that year, you were in trouble, and you knew it. Because when a yow lamb's on the ground and it gets dirty and it's wet, it's a job. If you can get there quick enough, sometimes it's okay, but this stuff was a game changer. And like I said, I only give it to the ones that that need it, that sometimes they get this thing, and sometimes they get it into their navel where they've lambed, a yow is lambed, and there's something underneath them, and the lamb is... That's all it needs. And I'm not a drug dealer. I'm not a guy waiting at the bottom going, hey, do you fancy a fucking toke on this? You know, I'm not there going like this to myself. I'm not going... Because I like to look after my stock. I'm just a small holding farmer, just likes to look after his stock and have this stuff on hand to stop my lambs dying. That's it. There we are. Gazza has vented. And just make sure, I think my vets are brilliant. I think they do fantastic for farmers. But this one thing gets on my tits every year. It's like going somewhere as if you're buying some crack cocaine off the doctor. That's what it's like. And it's just a simple product that worked. That's hard to buy it these days. So that's Gazza's vent today. Please Please subscribe down here for farming talk. Ta-da.